Hi everyone, and welcome to the RBC Learn to Play Project Evaluation webinar. This is Eitary, Assistant Manager at RBC. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started today, we'd like to highlight some housekeeping items. Prior to beginning the webinar, I would like to address a few housekeeping items. On the right of your screen is the GoToWebinar control panel where you can ask questions and select your audio mode. Today's presentation will take about an hour and will follow with a question period. You can submit questions and comments by typing in the questions panel throughout the presentation, and we will do our best to answer all of them at the end. Also, today's presentation is being recorded and will be available at rbc.com/learn-to-play and in the program section on ParticipACTION.com within 48 hours. We will provide more details on where to find the recording, a PDF of the slides, and more information in an email following the webinar. Next slide. On today's webinar, speakers will include myself, Eitary, Leah Norris, Community Connections Project Lead, Canadian Sport for Life, Jennifer Eustace, Scientist at Propel Center for Population Health and Impact, and Greg Matthews, Project Lead at ParticipACTION. Today's webinar will focus on the following items: the RBC Learn to Play overview and Year 1 outcomes, monitoring and evaluation, RBC SmartSimple Reporting System, capacity building, mentoring, and supports for successful grantees, and the RBC Learn to Play Sector Engagement Plan. In October 2013, RBC announced a 5-year, $100 million commitment to improve the well-being of 1 million kids and youth. The RBC Believe in Kids pledge is intended to improve the emotional, physical, and intellectual well-being of children and youth through investments in a wide range of national and community-based organizations, as well as through the company's own programming. This historic pledge consolidates RBC's current support for children's causes and includes funding for new programs. It will provide a reliable source of funding for organizations and programs that help kids as they grow from childhood through to their first career experience. The RBC Learn to Play project brings focus to our approach to developing the physical well-being of Canada's children. Next slide. We cannot turn the corner on the inactivity crisis on our own. That is why it takes many partners with different areas of expertise coming together to reverse the stats and help deliver on the RBC Learn to Play project vision. We are honored and proud to say that our partners include some of the greatest minds and advocates for the cause. Within our project is our LTP grant program, and our partners include on helping to design and deliver the grant program, ParticipACTION, Canadian Sport for Life, Propel, and stay tuned for RBC, ParticipACTION, and the Public Health Agency of Canada to make an exciting announcement about the RBC Learn to Play project on November 26th, in the week leading up to RBC Sports Day in Canada. First, we'd like to congratulate you on being the grant recipients in Year 1 of the RBC Learn to Play project. We received over 400 applications totaling more than $4 million in requests. We are happy to announce in the first year of the program, 2014, RBC, ParticipACTION, and the Public Health Agency of Canada have awarded $1.6 million in funding to over 180 organizations. A breakdown of the number of grants and total amounts awarded by region and category are presented here for your information. Before we launch into the core of our presentation today, I wanted to set the stage by indicating we have worked diligently as a team to put in place a process for measuring and evaluating your success. The goal was to create the online tools and templates to make it as easy as possible for you to engage in the gathering of data, which is important for us to measure the impact of our collective investments. As a grantee, you'll be required to evaluate the impact of what you do. You'll also receive supports and resources to help you in your grants. The webinar is meant to go through the evaluation requirements for community and program grantees, and will also provide an overview of the supports and resources you will receive as a part of a learning community. Please note there are different expectations of different grantees. For example, community versus program grants and small versus larger grants. While all grantees will be required to provide data for the RBC Learn to Play project, your impact goals may be different depending on the scope of your initiative. We have tried to make the process as easy as possible. If you need any help or are struggling with how this will be feasible, please do not hesitate to contact us at learntoplay@rbc.com. All of the information presented today may seem a little overwhelming at first, but we want to ensure that you are equipped with all the information necessary. We encourage you to rewatch this webinar and digest at your own pace. A playbook resource will also be available shortly on the SmartSimple system to provide you with further guidance. I will now be handing it over to Jennifer from Propel.
Thanks, Heba. As Heba mentioned, I will walk you through the requirements of the evaluation for the grant money that you received for the RBC Learn to Play project. I will describe requirements for both program and community grantees, and these requirements are different for both groups. Propel's role on the RBC Learn to Play project is as an evaluation partner. The Propel Center for Population Health Impact is a research and evaluation center at the University of Waterloo. We are a pan-Canadian organization that works to improve the health of people and places by moving evidence into action. Next slide. 2 slides. Evaluation is beneficial beyond simply meeting your grant requirements. The most obvious goal of evaluation is to understand the impact of your efforts and also learn how to improve what you're doing. For the community grants, this means understanding how communities are responding to the partnerships established, the workshops or training. And for program grants, it's understanding how participants are responding to the programs through their attendance, participation, and reactions. But also this is learning about the broader impact, such as whether the instructors and program developers are learning and increasing their capacity to support, develop, and deliver programs and initiatives that focus on physical literacy. In addition to understanding how you're making a difference, evaluation activities also help you to improve. The information you gather in your evaluation will help you to understand the strengths of your program and also identify areas for strategic improvement. However, you can use the information for other purposes, such as developing evidence-based action plans to obtain additional funding. Next slide. Presented here is a broad overview of the theory of change for the RBC Learn to Play project. To evaluate the grants, it has been important for us to identify the outcomes and performance indicators. As you are aware, RBC Learn to Play is focused on physical literacy, increasing awareness of it, integration of it into programs, and development of skills for greater physical literacy in children. The evaluation team has identified indicators of change and performance related to physical literacy, and these are different for program and community grants. Your required role within the evaluation is to collect information specifically related to your grant so that we can better understand the difference your work is making. There may be some instances where you have to analyze data either from registration forms or other sources in order to report the type of information that we're looking for. So at times your role may include a summary of information that you routinely collect about program participants, for example. Also, while it's not necessarily required that you share the findings, it's in your best interest to let people in your program and community know about the impact you have. You may even be able to get more funding from other grants or from your municipality if you can show that you're having a positive impact and you have a well-informed action plan. The main goal of the RBC Learn to Play project is to provide kids with the right start in sport, to enable kids to participate in sports, play, and become healthy and active for life. To accomplish this, the outcome of interest was through increasing awareness of physical literacy, increasing integration of physical literacy and fundamental movement skills into programs, and developing physical literacy in children. A key concept of physical literacy is that children learn fundamental movement skills that can enable participation in physical activity in its various forms. For this evaluation, we have focused on basic movement skills that are important for many sports. Physical literacy goes beyond fundamental movement skills and also includes competence in applying skills, confidence in participating in various activities, and motivation to participate. Within the evaluation, these core constructs of physical literacy will be assessed through measures of competence, confidence, and motivation. So for the evaluation, the data that you have to collect for the evaluation is in the RBC SmartSimple platform. Next slide, please. This is the same interface that you've used for your grant application. The indicators that you will be reporting on fall into the categories listed on the slide. We'll go into more detail about what these indicators are and how to report on them. And keep in mind that there are specific requirements for program grantees that will be outlined and community grantees. When we were developing the reporting template and identifying the key indicators that were important to the RBC Learn to Play project, we identified some indicators that would be difficult for you to measure. So we developed some supplementary tools so that we can collect and analyze the data for you. Our goal is to make the process as easy as possible so that you can concentrate on making an impact. So we created a parent participant survey for before and after participation for program grantees. We also created a simple training event survey to collect information on the value of training sessions. And this is often meant for community grantees, and some program grants may also have training as well. For community grantees, we created a special tool for measuring communities' capacities and their overall stage in becoming an RBC Learn to Play community. Next slide, please. The parent participant survey, the training event survey, and the community assessment tool will be available through an interface separate from the SmartSimple platform. And in the coming slides, we'll describe that in a little bit more detail. Again, you can see that the parent participant surveys are required for program grantees, community assessment tool is required for community grantees, and the training event survey is required for any grantee that hosts a training session. Next slide, please. The interface for the RBC Learn to Play surveys and tools can be accessed through the link at the bottom of the page that you see in front of you. Propel is hosting this interface. It's live if you want to test the link now. At first glance, you will notice that you don't have a password as of yet. We have left the passwords up to you to create so that they're easy to remember. This interface, as well as all the tools linked to this interface, have been mobile optimized for your convenience. This can help you use the tool for tracking progress and by having convenient access to the survey link. The mobile-friendly surveys will also make it easier to promote the surveys. For example, people can fill out the survey on their mobile device at the end of a training session, or parents can fill out a survey while they're waiting to pick up their kids. To get started, click Register here, and that's circled at the bottom of the slide. And if at any time you have an issue, please email Learn to Play at the email address on the bottom of the page that you see in front of you. The registration is simple. Please provide your email address, your name, and your organization's name and a password of your choice. Then click Register. You will then be brought to the following screen. This screen is where you will find the links to your surveys. These links are specific to your organization, but can be sent to as many people as you want. Keep in mind that if you use a different grantee's link, or if you set up multiple accounts, you will create multiple links. Please don't create multiple accounts because you only want one set of links for your organization. You can access this portal as many times as you would like, and these links won't change. You can copy and paste these links into whatever you want. It could be a brochure, a newsletter, an information sheet, a registration form, an email, into a PowerPoint slide, etc. But it's important to remember that it's your responsibility to promote the surveys and get people to fill them out. You aren't expected to get everyone to participate, but if you make an honest effort to distribute the links and make people aware of the surveys, you should get adequate participation. Notice how each link is different. The coding of the link will take the person to the specific survey and link the data to you, to your grant. We recommend that you verify the link each time you paste it into something or share it. To verify that you have the right link, we suggest that you click it and check to make sure that you have the correct survey. And to verify that people are completing the survey, you can look at the response tracker, and you see that. You can see the people that are completing the survey. You can see how many people started the survey, and that's noted on the screen. If you've distributed the link and told people how to complete the survey and see that there aren't any or there's very few responses, this may indicate that you didn't copy the link correctly or that you need to promote the survey more. You'll also notice that there is a QR code on the right-hand side. This is something that you can copy or people can scan on their smartphones to get to the surveys faster. The advantage of saving this is that you can name the image the same as the survey title so that there's less confusion. Now, you don't have to use the QR codes, but they're fun and they're easy to use for those who are familiar how to use them. Keep in mind that not everyone is able to use a QR code, so you should always provide a written link as well if you decide to use the QR code. The first two surveys are for participants of programs and only apply to program grantees. So these tools are used to assess change in physical literacy as well as change in physical activity level. They can be completed by a parent or a child over the age of 12. If you are running a program with children under 12, please only give the survey links to parents. Because these surveys are meant to measure change, it's important to get data before the program starts and after the program ends. So ideally this means that the measures are at enrollment and at the end of the program. However, reality may not allow for specific before and after measures, so there is flexibility in when you can distribute the survey links. For example, if the program is a multi-week program, it's okay to have participants or parents fill out the survey before, within the first week or two of the program. If your program is not multi-week, then within the first few sessions will be fine. For the after participant survey, we actually recommend that you start to distribute the links before the end of the program. Again, this can be the last couple of weeks or during the last few sessions, depending on how long your program runs. It's important to get people to do the surveys, but remember, you will probably see more change if you get people to fill the surveys out at the beginning and near the very end of the program, after they've learned. Now, to get people to participate in this before and after survey, RBC has supported the promotion of the program by creating a contest where people can complete the survey. People that complete the survey can enter a draw to win a $100 Visa gift card. So please use this ability to enter the draw as incentive for people to fill out these surveys. As mentioned before, a good time to get parents to fill out these surveys is when they're picking up children. And if they have a mobile device, they can use it at that time. It may also be a good idea to share the tools with the program instructors so that they can familiarize themselves with what's being measured. This may help them guide discussions or lessons about physical literacy and provide the participants with the necessary information to complete the survey. Next slide, please. The before and after program survey that I was talking about is for program grantees. You can see on the slide what is asked on these surveys. The surveys are very short. During testing, it took parents 5 minutes to complete, and it took 12-year-olds between 5 and 10 minutes to complete the survey. Next slide, please. The third survey is the training event survey. Some program grantees may be offering training, but most grantees that use this tool will likely be community grantees. This tool is meant to assess the value of the training session or sessions that you provide. It should be completed as soon as possible after training sessions are held. Remember, these tools are optimized for mobile devices, so most people should be able to fill these out electronically immediately after a training session. Both program grantees or community grantees should use this tool for any training session held. If you're providing a training session with a PowerPoint slide, you can post the link on the last slide for people to copy. And if you have handouts, you can include the link there. Another option is to print out the survey and get people to fill it in by hand. The downside of this is that you will have to enter the data electronically. So you'll have to fill out the online surveys that were done on the hard copies using the participants' data. Next slide, please. The training event survey assesses what the training session was, what training they've had before, potential number of children they'll impact over the course of a year, their change in understanding of physical literacy, and their intent and ability to apply their knowledge, as well as the overall satisfaction that they have with the program. The survey also gives an opportunity for participants to list one thing that they will do differently or have done differently as a result of the training. The screenshot that you see in front of you represents the print version of the survey. The online version is mobile optimized and contains one question per screen page. The last tool is community assessment. For those of you familiar with Canadian Sport for Life tools, this is similar to the Community Assessment Quick Scan, but it's been refined in consultation with the Canadian Sport for Life to be more specific to the RBC Learn to Play project. This is a tool for the community grantees only and measures change, much like the before and after participation surveys for program grantees. This tool will help you track information needed for SmartSimple Reporting, as well as provide you with valuable insights into what strategic areas are your community's strengths and other areas that you may need to target to have the most impactful improvements. The tool also provides you with an overall community score to help you determine where your community is at. Keep in mind that while we're recording responses for the evaluation, this is a very helpful planning tool. So please take time as a community to think about your responses and reflect on your community stage for each question. Again, because this is a planning tool and will be used to measure change, please fill this out as soon as possible for time 1, which is before or at implementation of your project. Then return to this tool and complete it again at the end of the grant period to assess change in your community stage of being an RBC Learn to Play community. The Community Assessment Tool tracks your community stage in becoming an RBC Learn to Play community. The tool identifies a number of important components for communities, such as collaboration, facilities, and education. Within each of these components of becoming an RBC Learn to Play community, you identify what stage you're at. If you don't know or are unable to answer, there's a response option for that too. On the screen, you can see the stages, and they include, they're called there's different stages: first step stage, exploring stage, mobilizing stage, transforming stage, and championing stage. You can see the definitions on the slide. These individual stages allow you to assess where your community is at for strategic purposes. You can also get an overall rating of where your community is at by looking at your overall score, which is an average across all elements. An example of one element is our school boards have identified physical literacy as a board and curricular priority. For this element, you would assess what stage you're at. You could select the exploring stage, which means that I know what I want to do and have a plan of action with resources allocated to the plan. So just to recap, we have created 3 supplementary tools: the before and after tool, which is meant for program grantees, the community assessment tool, which is meant for community grantees, and both of these tools are meant to be measured before or very close to the beginning of the program and at the end or very close to the end of the program so that we can assess change. There is also an event survey, and that tool is likely mostly applicable to community grantees who offer training programs, but may also be appropriate for program grantees that also have training programs to build leader capacity. Now I will pass the torch to Heba, who will talk more about how these things link to the SmartSimple system.
Thanks, Jennifer. If we could switch to the next slide. And one more. So by now, you should all be relatively familiar with SmartSimple, hopefully. We have worked closely with our partners both internally and externally to create an easy and efficient reporting system to allow you to collect your data on your programs and projects. The reporting can be accessed directly from your original application submitted through the SmartSimple system. I'll be walking you through how to re-log in, how to access your application, and how to access the reporting section specifically. As Jennifer from Propel had previously highlighted, there are 6 reporting sections in SmartSimple, one being program goal attainment, general reporting, capacity building, community impact, economic impact, and environmental impact. For year 1 of the RBC Learn to Play project, only 5 of these sections are mandatory. So all of them except environmental are mandatory for the first year. You'll be familiar with the majority of these sections as you had to go through them in your original application. We will also be creating a reporting measures and indicators guide, which will give you a step-by-step guide and breakdown on providing your measures in the SmartSimple system. This will be housed in the Additional Resources folder along with other supplementary information and should be available in the coming weeks. Please note that this report, the reporting section, will be available on SmartSimple on November 17th. If we can move to the next slide. So here we have provided you with a high-level overview of how to log into the system and go through the reporting process. We encourage you to follow these steps when you go in and to provide your measures. So step 1 would be to log into the SmartSimple system. Please note that you have to be the primary contact on the application in order to log in and access your application. And if necessary, update your organizational profile. Step 2 will be to navigate to the application list awarded or declined button. Step 3, select edit. Step 4, navigate to additional resources to view the measures guide and any other information you may find necessary. Step 5, access impact measures and indicators. Step 6, provide your measurements. And step 7, most importantly, make sure to save your information. We have also included contact information. If you have technical issues, please contact the SmartSimple support line or their email directly. And if you have questions directly pertaining to the indicators or anything involving both the Propel system and SmartSimple, please contact us at learntoplay@rbc.com. So now logging into the SmartSimple system. Again, we've provided the website URL just to redirect you to the page and also the support information one more time if in case you do need it. So this is the main landing page, and the person who originally applied for the application and is listed as the primary contact will have to log in. If there has been any changeover or if you've forgotten your password or email, please contact SmartSimple directly and they can assist you. Next slide. Once you have logged in, you will be directed to the home page. The only 2 buttons you need to navigate to are your organizational profile and application list awarded and declined. We recommend having a look in your organizational profile and ensuring that all information listed is up to date. If not, please include any necessary changes. Once you have saved these changes, you can navigate back to the home page. You will now click on the application list awarded and declined to view your original application. Next slide, please. Once you're here, you just simply have to click View and Edit. Your application should be listed. If not, please contact us and we'll be able to assist you. But once you click on View Edit, it will lead you then into your original application. Next slide. You'll now be brought into your application, so this should hopefully look a little familiar to you. The only sections you're able to edit in this is the Impact Measures and Reporting section. Before moving to this section, please make sure to have a look in the Additional Resources section for the guidebook. And once you have finished looking through, you will need to click on the Impact Measures and Reporting tab, which will lead you directly into the indicators. Next slide, please. Program goal, as specified previously, these are the 6 sections included in the Impact Measures and Reporting, with environmental impact being optional for year 1. Next slide. The Program Goal Attainment section is specific to the RBC Learn to Play project. We have worked closely with our partners to develop these 6 goals, which will be easy to report back on for both program and community grants. All 6 are mandatory to be reported on. These indicators relate to the surveys Propel previously highlighted. Note, these indicators have to be collected before the program and after the program. You will receive a report specific to your organization generated from the survey data to help you fill in this information. The quality of this data will depend on how many people complete the surveys. After selecting your goals, please ensure you select the Open button as specified on the page, and you will find the chart that will allow you to easily track your results. Next slide, please. Here you will find an example of how to fill out a goal. Please note that at this stage, you'll only be required to fill in the goals, baselines, and standard used. At the end of your project or program, you will need to log back into the system to provide your final results. So to quickly walk through this example, your goal could, as all of them are mandatory, a goal to report back on could be number of kids and youth who receive training as a direct result of this program. Your goal quantity could be that the total number of kids participating in your program could be 35 and that you'd like them all to receive training. So your goal units would be kids and youth. Goal description is that all the kids and youth participating in the program will be provided the high 5 training. Your baseline could be 10 kids and youth. And the baseline description for this, that prior to the program beginning, 10 kids and youth who are registered for the program already have this high 5 training, and the standard you used was your Propel training survey. Next slide, please. The general reporting indicators are also all mandatory, and you should be relatively familiar with these as they were mentioned on your original application. These goals are tracked across all of our RBC granting programs and also feed directly into our Kids Pledge. A lot of these numbers can also be pulled directly from your application, so please make sure to refer back just to give yourself a little refresher of what you had originally provided. The Public Health Agency of Canada is one of the funders of this project and also has specific reporting needs. As such, you will be responsible for reporting the age, sex, and the first 3 postal code digits of all program participants. This requires good data collection, but most importantly, it requires good organizational skills. We suggest that you keep your data electronically so that it is easier to manage. We also recommend that you keep a copy of the data file in a separate location so that it does not get lost. It is also good practice to have any information with people's names, addresses, or any other identifying information in a safe, locked location to ensure confidentiality. Next slide, please. Another example here for you to walk through this is, so your goal could be number of volunteer hours invested directly in this program or project. Goal quantity, 60 hours. Your goal units would then be hours. Your goal description is that this organization will seek parent volunteers to assist in monitoring the SWIM program. Your baseline would be 0 hours, as the program hasn't been run previously. Your base units, again, would be hours, and your description would be that prior to the program beginning, 0 volunteer hours have been invested by parents. Your standard use could be your own organizational tracking system. Next slide. In the capacity building section, you'll be prompted to select a minimum of 2 goals to report back on. We've ensured that there's enough diversity in these goals here that there are plenty for program grants to choose from as well as community grants. The capacity building section will provide a comprehensive view on how your program or project has impacted your community. After selecting your 2 goals, please ensure you select the open button as specified, and you will find the chart that will allow you to track your results. Next slide, please. Again, here is another example. So your goal could be number of people reached with information as a direct result of this program or project. Goal quantity is 80 people. Goal units would be people. Description here would be your organization will be providing a Physical Literacy 101 mini summit. Baseline units, 23 people, and how this was achieved was as a result of a Physical Literacy 101 mini summit that was hosted in 2013, and you found this out through the Propel Community Assessment Survey that you had run prior to initiating the project. Next slide. The next section will be community impact. As with the capacity building section, you will be required to select a minimum of 2 goals to report on, and we've ensured, again, that there's enough diversity for both program and community grants to find the 2 that are most suitable to their organization, program, or project. This section will provide data points on information dissemination, public participation, policies, and removal of barriers in your communities. Again, please select the Open tab to access the chart. Next slide, please. An example here would be that number and type of awareness-raising events held as a direct result of this program or project. Your goal quantity could be that in 2015 you want to host 2 summits. Your goal units would then be summits. Goal description, your organization will be hosting 2 Physical Literacy 101 mini summits. Your baseline units could be 0, and this is because previously no Physical Literacy 101 mini summits have been hosted, and you found this information through the Propel Community Assessment Survey. Please make sure to always hit save. So the next section will be economic impact. As with the previous 2 sections, you will need to select a minimum of 2 goals to report on. This section is to allow us to see how your granting program is creating and impacting economic opportunities within your organization and communities. Items such as jobs created, hours invested in the program, employable skills, etc. are included in the listing of goals to report back on. Next slide. Again, we've included an example for you to refer to. So your goal could be number of community members who receive training as a direct result of this program or project. Your goal quantity could be 35 people, goal units, people. Description of how you'd like to achieve this is you will be hosting 1 NCCP Fundamental Movement Skills workshop. Your baseline could be 15 people, and description of how this was achieved previously is that in 2013, 1 NCCP Fundamental Movement Skills workshop was hosted for the community. Your standard use could be your own personal organizational tracking system. For year 1 of the RBC Learn to Play project, as we mentioned previously, the environmental impact section is optional. We do encourage you, though, if you are able to report on a minimum of 2 of the goals within this section. As this section is new and just being introduced, we completely understand if you are unable to relate to any of these indicators for year 1. The next slide will walk you through how to fill out this chart if you are unable to specify any goals. As this section is not mandatory, and if you are unable to fill out any of the results, please just simply put X's throughout all the boxes and click Save for a minimum of 2 lines, and it should work properly for you. Next slide. So by this point, I'm sure you're thinking that this is a lot of information and wonder why we are suggesting you collect all of it. Believe it or not, this information actually helps you the most. By the end of this project, you will also have all of this data. You'll be able to articulate to stakeholders how this funding has contributed to project outcomes. You'll be able to tell them what you can improve and how to improve it in the future. This kind of information is very important to funders and parents, but is also of interest to your participants and your community in general. In terms of future planning, understanding the amount of change that you can anticipate will help you set targets for next year too. All this information will also help us to understand how all the projects contribute to the goals of the RBC Learn to Play project. Not only will collecting all this standardized information allow us to understand the collective impact of the grants program, but it will allow us to aggregate across multiple initiatives to see how the grants add value to the collective impact of all the RBC initiatives. We have also ensured that we have tried to make it as easy as possible for both program and community grants. If you do and need any assistance along the way, please do not hesitate to contact learntoplay@rbc.com, and an RBC representative would be more than happy to walk you through the process. So here you'll see the timelines and next steps slide. We've provided a comprehensive overview of all the key dates and when we encourage you to distribute any surveys. As noted previously, the SmartSimple system will be live on November 17th, and if you want to have a look below as when you should be distributing the surveys or when you should anticipate to receive them. We also would like to have the final measures and reporting indicators in the SmartSimple system by October 31st, 2015. I will now hand it over to Leah Norris from Canadian Sport for Life.
Great. Thanks, Heva. So as you may have heard from previous webinars, RBC recognizes that your projects are much more likely to be successful if they're supported by experts with experience in communities. You are the experts in your community, and Canadian Sport for Life can help you fill in any gaps in knowledge, skills, resources, or capacities that are required to move your project forward. So as you can see on the slide, the types of supports that are available include online resources, an online learning community, webinars, mentoring, and parent education. So as we move into the next slide, I'll just give you an overview of each of these 5 types of support. So the online resources, you can see the website there, and if you go to that website, you will find information about all things Learn to Play. So in step 1 on the little diagram at the bottom, you will find information and resources to inform and inspire physical literacy and quality sport best practices, from applications to online support and resources. For steps 2, 3, and 5, these are specific to the RBC grant process, and step 4 provides a list of supports and resources to support your project implementation. This will be the step that most of you will likely want to start with as you've already been through the application process. And the site will continue to evolve as we determine the best way to meet your needs for information. So please continue to check back on a regular basis. One thing you'll notice when you go to the site is that our graphic colors have changed since we put the slide deck together, so it will look a little bit different, but generally the same concept. So after the online resources, we'll move into the online learning community supports, and all grant recipients will be invited to join an online learning community where they will be able to learn from other communities, share resources, and join discussions on various topics related to their projects. Information on how to access this learning community will be sent out in the coming weeks. We're moving into the webinars. So starting in the new year, we will be offering webinars on various topics. As you can see there, Physical Literacy 101, Becoming a Canadian Sport for Life Community, Physical Literacy Games, and Best Practices and Success Stories are some of the ideas that we've been discussing and putting together. If you do have suggestions for additional topics, please do send us an email and let us know. So we'll move on to the mentoring supports, and there are supports for both program and community grant recipients. Our Ask an Expert email contact will provide program grant recipients with advice on how to integrate physical literacy into their programs, how to access leader training or other resources. So you're definitely encouraged to email your questions, and you will be put in touch with a mentor or an expert from your region who's aware of the situation and services available in your area. Now, the community grant recipients will also have access to this email service, but will include direct contact with a regional mentor or expert that will help them to guide their project. There will be more information coming soon about how to access all of these supports. And finally, please do check out the appendix of slides for more information on upcoming learning opportunities, including the Canadian Sport for Life Summit, which takes place from January 27th to 29th, 2015. There will be opportunities for Learn to Play grant recipients to share their project and to network with other grant recipients. So what we'll do now is we'll move on to talk about the parent supports. So Active for Life is a Canadian not-for-profit organization that promotes physical literacy by reaching out to parents. Our specialty is getting parents on side with physical literacy by first convincing them that it is important. Active for Life makes physical literacy easy for parents to understand because they use simple, clear language that parents get. Once they are on side, Active for Life supplies parents with activities and practical resources that they can use with their kids. I can tell you that Active for Life has had a huge positive response from parents across Canada. So if we go into the next slide, there are some parent resources specifically designed for RBC Learn to Play grant recipients. For the Learn to Play program, Active for Life is supplying grant recipients with free resources to educate your parents about physical literacy. We have a treasure chest of easy-to-download resources that includes friendly articles, a slideshow, educational postcards, and customized web page that explains physical literacy and links to more resources. To access all of these resources, all you have to do is visit our Learn to Play web page at Active for Life, and you can see the link to the page, and it will be included in additional slides as well. And so Active for Life will look forward to working with all of the grant recipients. And so now I'll pass it over to Greg to talk about the engagement piece.
Awesome. Thanks, Leah. So we really just quickly wanted to touch on some of the work that's being undertaken under the sector engagement aspect of Learn to Play. So you can see on your screen there, we really have two key deliverables under sector engagement that we're currently working on. The first of which is in engaging and aligning stakeholders with respect to physical literacy in Canada. So ParticipACTION is planning, along with RBC and Canadian Sport for Life, on engaging and aligning stakeholders with respect to physical literacy, and to the RBC Learn to Play initiative, including the promotion of Learn to Play granting opportunities and all the available resources that we're making available through the program. The second point up there is the development of the National Marketing and Communications plan. So that, along with our key project partners, RBC and Canadian Sport for Life, we'll be developing a national communications and marketing plan for Learn to Play, which includes the brand and also includes some consistent communication and messaging around the physical literacy language and terminology that's used in the sector. So what we wanted to do is just touch really on the second point there, which really consists of two aspects, knowledge sharing and consensus building. So one of the key goals that we have around Learn to Play is to lead the charge in communicating physical literacy concepts and terms and facilitate information and resource sharing, not just amongst the successful grant applicants that we have, but across the entire sector that work in the physical literacy space. The second piece that we wanted to touch on is the consensus building. This is a process that we're currently undergoing right now, and through the use of a needs assessment and an environmental scan, we are planning on working in collaboration with physical literacy experts across Canada to see if we can develop some common terms, definitions, and messages based around physical literacy that both Learn to Play grant recipients and the wider community can use when talking about physical literacy to the general public. So what we would really like to do, and we're encouraging you to do, is to provide your input. We really need your input, your knowledge, and your sharing to help us in this process. So you can see at the bottom of this slide, we have a SurveyMonkey link. This will take you through to a short survey, about 10 questions long, that's going to ask you a number of questions around your thoughts on the current definitions of physical literacy, where you draw your information on physical literacy from, how you use it, what projects you run, what programs you run, and also, is there any gaps, in your opinion, around the current tools and messages that are available to help you in your processes. So please click on the link, provide your knowledge and input. It's only going to help us develop a communications plan and tools and resources that fill the gaps and meet your needs as Learn to Play grant recipients. So that link will be open for a few more months yet. So please take the 5 minutes, 10 minutes that it will take and complete that survey for us. Okay, so that wraps up our evaluation webinar for today. What we've done is compiled all of your questions, and we're going to be putting together a frequent an FAQ document that will be available over the next few days and posted out on the Learn to Play website, ParticipACTION website, and the Learn to Play portal. We'll also email these out to you as well, and we will answer all of your questions. So thank you very much for your time and making yourself available to run through the information with us. Once again, congratulations on being a Learn to Play grant recipient in year 1, and we look forward to working with you over the next 12 months.